I'm D-Real. That is Theo B over there. And this is Friday Vibin. Hello, welcome everybody in the building. We have a special guest. Oh my God. How do I introduce this man? I hope I can give him the Shannon Sharp treatment. He has been a linchpin of DC Image and most prominently Milestone. Um, all pretty much anything in Milestone that you could think about, he's touched. But most of all, most recently, we have been thrilled to pieces to read the 4-issue miniseries of Shadow Cabinet, which just made me feel like I was right back in 1995, and I had on my cross colors. But let's say hello and what's up to the Joe Illidge in the building. Rock with me, Nation. What's going on?
Hello, gentlemen. How are y'all doing tonight?
We doing outstanding.
Live and alert on the north side of the dirt, like I always say.
What the Gap Band say? Shabba dabba tweety tweety, outstanding. Yeah, we doing outstanding.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
That part right there. That part right there. Folks are gonna, kind of, because Alive is like a different kind of vibe, a different kind of energy. People kind of ooze in and ooze out. So at one point we'll be way up here, and then at another point we'll be mid, and then at another point we'll be way back up here. So as far as prominent questions, I feel like in the chat that we might need to acknowledge or something like that. I might interject here and there. So don't feel like I'm being curt or rude. I'm just making, the media format go. Mr. Illidge, I know. I said Mr. Illidge. I said I was going to call him Joe. Anyway, see, it fluctuates. Anyway, the first question I wanted to ask about is odd. But I want to be able to get it out of the way so moving forward we don't sound weird. I read an article about your production company partnering up with 50 Cent's production company to do a Zero project.
Yes.
The character that was created by Christopher Priest.
Yes.
Of Black Panther fame.
Yes.
And Quantum and Woody, but that's a different story. That's happening.
It's funny because we actually had a meeting a few weeks ago and we were talking about, the thing about Zero, right, is he's a Black man who uses technology and prosthetics to disguise himself as a blonde white man with blue eyes, so he can basically go to those places around the world where people that look like us, they won't let us through those doors, right? And we were actually talking about the kind of technology that's available in film now, and how that actually will not be the hardest thing to pull off, right? And it's a very important part of the story, the whole dual identity, and Zero having to come, regain his sense of Blackness, which he lost because he was being Agent Zero, right? So it's something that we're doing right now. And here's the thing about Hollywood. Hollywood goes really slowly, and then at a certain point it just goes real fast. But it's like, the development process is so long, right? So Zero is still very much in movement, but it's just like, remember, Hollywood went through the writer strike, and then it went through the actor strike. It almost had a director strike. So that slowed a lot of things down by like a year and a half, right? But still very much in movement. We're talking about it. This month, we actually had weekly meetings around it because we're trying to really nail some stuff down. So yeah, that's still very much in play.
So that's what I get the real world sense of it, because if you go undercover for an extended period of time, you do have to come back and find out who you were. And I think if we even look at actors who go through the technique of submerging themselves into the character that they're portraying. We know what Heath Schuler, that's a football player. Heath Ledger went through, and even Michael B. Jordan touched on having to deprogram himself once the movie Black Panther was over with. What I want to ask you, especially off the heels of what you just said, the Zero Project, and we discussed this earlier before we came on. What made you want, as a Black man?
Yeah.
What made you want to get into this field? Say to yourself, I can do it. And as long as you've been in the game, because you ain't new to this. you true to this. As long as you've been in the game, still finding a way, because we've looked at actors, Black writers talk about the struggle. Still be able to find ways to get it done.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, so I'm a comic book kid from the way back, from when it was not in your social interests to be a comic book geek. Black kid of the 70s in Brooklyn, Black teenager of the 80s. Like, I had my friends telling me, like, Joe, you ain't gonna get no sex if you keep talking about these comic books.
Whoa. Wrong flag. I got the replay.
You replay?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm a football player, so when we throw the red flag on the play, we got to review stuff. I'm from the Bronx.
I'm Brooklyn.
We won that ball from each other.
Yeah, I'm Brooklyn born. I'm on the East Coast, and it's like, so the 70s and 80s, it was not a great time to be a public geek. It turned out I knew a lot of people that were much better at keeping secret identities, where they were hard to the world, but at home they were like there in their X-Men comics, right? But so I grew up on the stuff, and there was a time when I wanted to be a comic book artist. Like, George Perez was like God to me, yeah, and he was God, right? And I went to art high school and I went to art college, and it was an art college that, friends would say, hey, you have a lot of great ideas. Maybe you should be a writer, And a friend of mine, after I graduated from art college, he had a very sobering conversation with me. He said, if you saw your art on the street, would you buy it? And he said, and if the answer is yes, then you can continue to pursue this. If the answer is no, then you don't have a future as an artist. And that was a tough pill to swallow, because I can draw from observation, but from imagination, I don't have that gift. I don't have that talent like so many of my, friends and colleagues in the business do. So I woke up that morning, I went to bed, I woke up that morning, I was like, okay, I don't have a future as an artist, but I do have ideas. I think they're good. I'd like to be a writer. And so I tried to break into Marvel. Marvel had this anthology series called Marvel Comics Presents that had all these 8-page stories. One of them was the well-known Weapon X by Barry Windsor Smith that changed how we understand Wolverine forever. And I would pitch them and not get any responses. And then one time I met this guy, Jimmy Palmiotti, who's a legend in the business. And he spoke with the editor. The editor wrote me about all my pitches. And I was like, wow, right? And so I heard about this company called Milestone from a friend, Black-owned comic book company. He was like, I'm interning there. He was like, you should come. And I was like, man, you got to work for free? Because it's the 90s. Internships weren't paid. I was like, I'm not working for free. Then I ended up in between jobs, which is the way of saying I didn't have a job. And I go to a newsstand and I see an Icon comic. I never saw a comic that spoke to me like that. Never in my life. Right? Because we were so few in representation in comics, but the representations weren't necessarily the truth. They were white people's perception of Black life. But Icon was Black people's perception of our lives. Yeah. And the second issue had Rocket and Icon surrounded by riot cops. Now we're talking the 90s and the racial tension in New York. You know, Theo, what it was. Yeah. And I mean, in those days, music-wise, I was on a steady diet of Public Enemy and Ice Cube's Death Certificate and Pete Rock. Like, so I even remember, like, I wasn't a militant dude at all, but I remember when I was in college, I met this girl named Trisha Jackson, straightened my ass out. Because there was a militant clique in School of Visual Arts, right? There was like that corner of the cafeteria, and that's where like the militant brothers and sisters would sit. And, you know, they kind of let me in, but they straightened me out, right? It's like, you got to engage your blackness, bro.
Yeah.
And so that was the beginning, and then the music, and then here's Milestone. So I went for an internship. I was like, I saw that comic, and I was like, Milestone's going to change the world. I was like, I want to change the world with them. I don't want to be on this side just buying the books. I want to be there, changing things. Yeah. So I applied for an internship. And but I knew I wanted to be a writer from then. But then working with Dwayne McDuffie, that man, he understood story and character in a way that eludes a lot of writers. His stories, he had such a humanity, and he was brilliant in understanding story, and he inspired me. And so I knew I wanted to write because he inspired me, and he also inspired me to be an editor. I mean, that man is very crucial in shaping the path that led me to talk to you here today.
I don't think I would be selling him short if I said, right now, today, as we speak on this show, he's responsible for the three of us being where we're at right now. You said something that was poignant when you said, because Daryl and I have talked about it before in regards to the representation. The representation, you getting it, but you getting the representation of a black character through a white person's eyes.
That part.
It means something when you're getting I'm not gonna say, I'm trying to be careful. I understand not every black writer is going to write the black character the way through black eyes. I get that, I understand it.
Exactly, yeah.
But it is so refreshing going in, whether we know better or not, based on how the story turns out. It is refreshing to have a black writer writing a black character. At least then you know the character stands a chance. So what you said, that means a lot. And then the significance of Dwayne McDuffie on the comic book industry, but not only just the comic book industry, his effect on those of us that are black, that are filling roles in the comic book industry, whatever those roles may be. His impact is me. So
and I don't want to take at all away from the shine that Dwayne McDuffie has brought just to black characters, and not just black writing, period. Okay, because he wrote for Justice League. Remember Justice League Unlimited? Okay, a lot of those fantastic stories that you saw were because of him. Now, at the same time, there's two cats that were, I wouldn't say as impactful, but, you know, in the same way impactful. One of them not with us is Doc Bright, Mark Bright. I was looking at his art, and I didn't even know at the time that I was looking at a black man's art. You know, because media wasn't what it was. You know, we talking like, you know, late 80s, you know, early 80s, late 80s, somewhere around that, you know, that Power Man Iron Fist run, you know, and it's just like, you know, this art is dope, you know, who's doing this, you know, and he would always put MD, you know, and he did put Mark at one point, and I was like, okay, all right, you know, and then later on I found out that's what I do. You know, same thing with Arvell Jones. I used to read that Marvel premiere. Oh man, I've been rocking with his stuff all this time, and I didn't even know that was a brother. you know,
We didn't know
and
a lot
the
of
other
these
one, of
people were
course,
black. We didn't know.
and a lot of people,
No, I'm saying repeat that one more time, Mr. Illidge.
I was just saying, you know, to Daryl's point, we didn't know that a lot of these people were black.
Yes,
There was no
yes.
Wizard magazine, and whenever you saw these people in real life, they, you know, the system wasn't profiling the brothers; it was profiling the white creators, right? So it's like you mentioned Mark Bright's Power Man and Iron Fist run. Well, that run was written by Christopher Priest, who at that time went by his birth name of Jim Owsley. Right?
yes,
Lord have mercy, Jesus.
yes,
I didn't know he was black.
Listen, I might, Darren, that might be it. Maybe we need to change up Daryl and Theo and go by some. That might. Let me ask you this though. Now you said something earlier because you did mention being from Brooklyn.
Theo, I didn't want to cut you off. The other person I wanted to give a shout out to was Dennis Cowan.
Yes.
And Dennis Cowan is still with us, and man, all that art, the 1988, the Black Panther, the 4-issue run, where issue 2 with the supremacists.
Yes.
You know, basically the South African Justice League. You know what I'm saying?
They work for Elon Musk. Never mind.
I love that. And so much other stuff that he did, man. And so if you're watching, shouts out to you, Brother Cowan. Anyway,
Absolutely.
Go ahead and say what you was gonna say.
So, Mr. Illidge, you were telling us about, you know, what you used to listen to and everything. I told you it's a vibe. It's a vibe.
Yeah.
So you said ask you the question later on. Daryl got a question he gonna ask you about some other stuff.
Yes.
This is what I'm gonna ask you. So you said you would tell us what the Milestone soundtrack was like.
100%.
So what was there a Milestone soundtrack back in the day when you were there? And did you have some music that you were listening to this time around when you wrote the 4-issue limited series? If the answer is yes, give us some of that there. Give us some of that there.
So Milestone started publishing in 1993. That was the same year that Wu-Tang Clan came onto the scene, right? So you got to know Wu-Tang was part of the soundtrack, right? You got to know that, you know, regardless of present controversy, history is history. You got to know Bad Boy Entertainment. You got to know, you know, Biggie Smalls was there, then becoming Notorious B.I.G. You got to know the Craig Mack remix.
Oh,
which
man.
Had, like all the heads, Busta Rhymes,
in your ear.
right? You got to know that. You got to know Mary J. Blige.
Oh,
right? It's like you got to know Foxy Brown. You got to know, like that's the soundtrack of the times, and the offices were like 3 big lofts. So we had the music up. Right? So that was what we were listening to when we were doing the work. You know, we had that, and that just made the atmosphere something that you wouldn't get in any other comic book company, right? They weren't playing music like that.
No, you're not getting that.
And then here's a funny one for you, and then I'll tell you the music that I was listening to, right? Shadow Cabinet. But one time, Dwayne had his office door open and he's playing some music, and I told you that Ice Cube's Death Certificate was one of the albums I had on rewind, and to this day that's still my favorite album of his. Some people will say America's Most Wanted, but I'm gonna say Death Certificate is just like perfect. There's no skips, right? And I walked in his office, you know, I said, "Oh, you like Ice Cube too?" He said, "That's not Ice Cube, man." He said, "That's Parliament." And I was like, holy crap, like, oh, I'm listening to the samples. He's not
wrong. He's not wrong.
Like, okay, now I gotta educate myself about Parliament, George Clinton, Bootsy Collins, all that stuff, right? But that's to let you know the authentic knowledge, the culture that was present in the offices, in the minds of the people. And it made its way to the comic books when you have a title like The Mothership Connection, right? That's what we're talking about here. So now fast forwarded to now, right? So what was I listening to when I was writing Shadow Cabinet? So there's a few things. Number one, if you look at the titles for each issue, every title is from a famous Black song, right? Like a change is gonna come. That's Sam Cooke, right? Stomp is the Johnson Brothers, right? Give Me the Good Life is Thelonious Monk, and Lovely Day is by Bill Withers. So all the titles are from,
I noticed that. I noticed that. I noticed that.
Right?
I feel slow.
Now, right?
That's why I say that whole run was blacker than 12 midnight. You know what I'm saying? You just had to read between the lines and look and see the little nuance stuff there. I'm feeling Shadow. I'm really feeling this right here.
This is what we're doing here.
Yeah.
This is for everybody, but it's for the culture, right? But the music I was listening to, like, so I'm a big fan of Tribe Called Quest. One of my probably 10 favorite rap albums is Extinction Level Event by Busta Rhymes. I think there's no skips on Extinction Level Event. So I was listening to Midnight Marauders. I was listening to the Low End Theory. I was also listening to Thank You for Your Service, right? Like the space program. Huh?
You was all in the chocolate.
Listen, come on. Like, you got to go in, right? And then, you get into, like, oh my God, I'm trying to think. Those were, like, the top people. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Boy, like, come on. Like, perfect album from beginning to end. That kind of stuff, right? I think when I was writing issue 3 and the origin of Angela, I think for that issue, I think I was listening to more 70s music. I think I was listening to, Aretha Franklin, Tina Turner, Diana Ross, and the Supremes, because I had to take myself back.
Right.
Because Angela's origin began in the 60s, right? So I'm like, okay, I got to take myself back to bring myself forward. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you something. We were already talking about because Daryl and I, we action figures. That's part of our thing. We don't just do the comic books.
Yeah.
And we were already talking about Icon. And I don't know who said Icon first, either me or Daryl, that there's an action figure coming out there. But I want you to know from me to you, from me to you, it was your writing on this 4-issue series that said, okay, we can't even play around with it. We got to get him. It's not a question of if we want him. We got to have him.
Yeah.
He got to go on the wall of fame with this 4-issue series and be there when we get some other milestone stuff. So I want you, and it's not just me. If Kamoyo King is here, Kamoyo Kid is here, you got him. You got him with the action figure.
Oh, there he is. I'm still waiting for mine. I got this guy to hold me over. I got Virgil to hold me over. But
I ain't got Virgil yet. I ain't got Virgil.
I'm waiting to get him so I can put them next to one.
I got Virgil.
Yeah.
No, I
ain't got Virgil. We need a hardware action figure now. We need a hardware action figure.
Listen,
at least a Tech 9 or a Wise Son.
We gotta get hardware in the armor with the big boosters on his back, and those.
You saying that? So let me ask you this question. You're saying that. I like this. We'll do a nice little segue. You're saying that. So you just showed us the static action figure. You and I are both waiting on Icon. Daryl has Icon. I don't know if you heard this, but if you have, Mattel is taking over the license for the DC line 2026. Do you think, because we saw Todd McFarlane, clearly he's a Batman fan. Clearly. Yeah. Clearly. Do you think, or at the very least, hope that with Mattel getting the DC license, we will get more Black action figures, or at the very least, more milestone action figures, as opposed to the two common ones, Icon and Static?
Yeah, I would hope that they would expand, because when you're talking about who are the core characters, I think, Daryl, you made a good point where there's got to be someone from the Blood Syndicate, right? You got to have Hardware. If you have Icon, you got to have Rocket. You got to have Rocket, yeah. And then Static, right? And we still need the Static that is in the costume that Nick Draper Ivy made, which we brought back in Shadow Cabinet 4, right? So yeah. So I would hope that they would extend that, because that's the thing. It's like so many people know these. Oh, look at that. Is that a custom rocket? That's amazing.
We do that over here. You know, we got this thing with the Rock With Me Nation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is
if they not gonna make it,
job there.
If they're not gonna give us what they give everybody else, we're gonna do one or two things.
So what he said, if you won't make the action figures for us, we got the means and we got the will. So, you know, that's what, like he said, it's what we do.
Yeah. Oh, we'll sit up there and get that manifold right there. We ain't tripping. We ain't tripping. You doing something with Captain America? Don't worry about it. I don't need you to give me Elijah Bradley. I'll do it myself.
And I saw Daryl was holding up Lothar from Defenders of the Earth. I caught him. That dude looked pretty cool. Yeah, look, come on, man. Look at that. That's fierce.
Yeah.
That's fierce.
Oh, yeah. They don't want to give us a griot, should he?
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Okay. You don't have to give them to us.
That's how we gotta do. That's how we gotta do. That's how we always gotta do, right? When we're not satisfied, we must make it manifest.
Segue again, because we read all 4 issues. We did. I told you, I'm having fun tonight now. We read all 4 issues.
Good.
You did to me what Brian Hill did to me. You left me, and I ain't want to be left. So now you may not be able to tell us.
Okay.
But based on the way issue 4 ended,
yeah,
is there down the road a Rocket Static series coming?
Listen, so Rocket and Static is one of the things that I spoke with the editor, Marquise Draper, about. Like, I was very clear to him. I think it was in between. I think it was right after I wrote issue 3. I was like, let's see if we can have that conversation down the line. So I'm confident that you're going to see like a milestone future. What shape it's going to be, like, that's happening at the higher level. That's Reginald Hudlin and Dennis Cowan talking with like the DC execs. But for Shadow Cabinet, what was important was to just paint a road. Like, this is the road that you can bring any creators on now. And it's like, okay, which road do you want? Do you want the Blood Syndicate road, where they've got to take Paris Island back from the military? Do you want the Rocket and Static road? Do you want the trial of the Big Bang, right? With like Hardware and Icon, like, pick your road, right? And that was a thing. And, you know, what I told the DC heads and the milestone, and, you know, Reggie and Dennis, when I wrote it, is I wanted Shadow Cabinet 4 to have the effect of the last episode of The Wire. Like, those last 8 minutes of The Wire, where you're like, damn, I want to see where Michael's going to be tomorrow. What's going to happen to McNulty tomorrow? Where's Bubs going to be tomorrow, right? That's the thing. So that's why I wanted to end Shadow Cabinet 4. I want you fiending for tomorrow.
Well, you did that.
You know, that's it.
Yeah. You did that. Okay. You did that.
I'm glad that was a definite goal. Thank you. You know, and to be clear, listen, it's a team effort. If it was just my words, then it would be a novel. It's not a novel. It's a comic book series. I was really blessed to be with like the best artists, colorists, letterers. I mean, come on, man. Like, everyone brought it for this. You can see the love in every page. And that's the thing, right? Like, you know, like, we're all fans of the stuff. The colorist, Chris Sotomayor, and I, we go back to Milestone Generation 1 in the 90s. So there's just this genuine love there, and so we're fans too. Like, we're here and we're with you at the same time, and so that was part of the fun. It's like, okay, this is what you've been waiting for. This is what you want to know. Let's just take the journey there together, but we'll get you there.
You can tell you care, and you can tell you were knowledgeable, and I guess that's you should be supposed to be, at the very least. You work there. I want to say issue 2, the one where Sanction popped up.
That was Sanction. Oh boy,
that was the one. Cause see, okay, so I'm in Okinawa, Japan, when Milestones is running back in the 90s. So I had a guy bring some comic books. I didn't have him. He just happened to come. Hey man, you ever heard of Milestone? I like, no, I'm DC Marvel. What are you talking about? And he showed me, the very first comic I read was Static 1. And so I know the Blood Syndicate. By the way, the artist did a great job on Brick House. Oh, she's a brick.
Yep.
Made her look more feminine.
I like how she looks now, though.
Yeah.
She
More
looks
feminine
better now than she did back.
I think, to me, and this isn't a knock, she looked more like a female version of the Thing back in the day.
Yeah.
Now she looks more, she just happens to be a thick female that's made out of bricks.
That's
good looking. I like that. I love that.
That's right.
But Sanction, like, I thought folks was gone. That's the way you had him.
Listen,
I thought
he was a black Deathstroke.
Listen, Sanction, that's a mean. So I'm 55, right? So I was born in 69. Sanction's in his early 60s, okay? And Sanction's like, he's the ex-Dirty Tricks guy, CIA. When he says that line to Tech 9, like, when he's like, yeah, you're good, Army, but I'm the guy that Marines pee in their boots about. And then he says, what's my name, boy? And Tech 9 knows, because Sanction's a fucking legend in the intelligence community. When he said that, that's why, they scribble out the curses. But when he said that to him, he was like, fuck me. Sanction. Right? He's like, this is Sanction. Because remember, in the beginning, he was confident. He was talking it up. He was like, you land like a cat. You only got one life like a damn dog. And he's like, bye, Fido. Like, he just thinks he's going to take this dude out. And in 5 minutes, he's like, shit, I'm not going to beat this guy.
Listen,
this is Sanction.
It is a shame. I think the last time I read something from Milestone is when they had it was a shadow cabinet, but they put it in like a big book or whatever, almost like a trade paperback where the worlds collide or something like that. That's years ago.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie. I need some Sanction. Like, I ain't trying to be funny. I ain't trying to be funny, but you know that, like, you gave just enough to wet the palate. Like, no, this dude, I had asked Daryl, who is this dude? Man, Sanction ain't no joke. He ain't even got no superhuman powers either. He just, man, when Sanction come through, I'm like, where he been at? Like, what?
Yeah. The thing is, which is part of the fun of the relaunches, is a remix of the older characters. So there's a Sanction in the original Milestone who airs in Hardware, right? And he is a brother that's old, with an eye patch. So he's kind of like our Nick Fury years before the Ultimates and Samuel Jackson, right? But now we have that. So I'm like, okay, so in remixing him, I had to think about him. So I'm like, okay, the dude's in his 60s. So that tells you, what his influences are, what he's lived through. He's lived through the crack epidemic of the 80s, shock and awe, Iran-Contra, like all the stuff. Like, and he's still alive. He's alive because he's dangerously intelligent. He's dangerously skilled. And part of the fun was when you see him in the last page of Shadow Cabinet 1, it's kind of like, well, he's just killing regular dudes. But when he goes after the Syndicate, right? You're like,
boy.
Is what is that? What is that, right? And like the burning fire and smoke is in the back. Like you're supposed to believe like you are in hell. You are in hell, and that dude is the devil come to get you.
You convinced me. You convinced me. You convinced quite a few other people that Sanction. I think for those of us that was our first time coming across Sanction, you did a great job in letting us know how dangerous this dude is. He's nobody to be messed up with. You got superhumans afraid of this dude. And the added caveat of this, he's human. Like ain't no superhuman powers there. There ain't no Slade Wilson. There ain't no Wade Wilson. That's more of your Frank Castle. That ain't even your Nightwing over there. Not Nightwing. What's the dude named Nighthawk over there? No. This just the dude that don't play the radio.
Dude, this is a guy with brains and tech and money. And this is a guy who he listens to old records, right? And he still types on a typewriter. He's an old school dude in our modern world. And he's living the good life, but it's like that dude just does what he does.
So let me ask you a question. I told you I was gonna have fun. What would a Sanction 4-issue miniseries look like?
Jesus Christ. Okay, that's fair. And I've thought about it, right? So a very important television show for the culture, which I don't think enough people talk about, but is A Man Called Hawk, where Avery Brooks takes the Hawk character out of Spencer for Hire and has his own show. And if you really want to do a deep dive in the very first episode, Angela Bassett is in the very first episode. So I think a Sanction miniseries would involve like a past love of Sanctions, right? Like the one that got away that he wishes didn't get away, right? So there would be some personal stakes for him, right? I wouldn't get into his origin, but I would give you like some glimpses, right? Because I will tell you this. Like myself, Sanction grew up in Brooklyn. And I have thoughts about what his teenage years were like. And I would give you a little glimpse of that. Because I'm living in Brooklyn. I'm gonna put the dude in Brooklyn. I'm gonna put him there, when we had the blackout of 78 or something like that, and what that was like. I'm gonna have him dealing with what the racial tensions were like in the 90s. And for him as a black man to have to prove himself to be better than these other like white agents, right? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, to me, that was something that I feel like the Antoine Fuqua, Denzel Washington Equalizer films got into, that he had to be 3 times as dangerous as his white peers, simply because he's black, and he would be put into situations that would be really messed up, like Isaiah Bradley, right? Like the military industrial complex uses and abuses us the way other complexes use and abuse us. And for you to survive and thrive in those, you have to excel,
Would he be
so that's what we would dig into a little.
Would he be a anti-hero in this story, or more or less a mercenary?
He's a mercenary. So here's the thing. Sanction has an ethos. He has an ethos and he has a code. But what he doesn't have is this naivete that loyalty to any system will make sense. Right? He has seen behind the veil. He's killed people that you didn't think he would kill. He's seen things, and it's like he does not believe that this nation was ever going to do right by somebody like him. You know what I mean? He sees things very clearly. So he's a mercenary, but he does have a code.
Okay. I asked that question because my brother Daryl alluded to the fact that, you know, we've gotten to this point in superhero storytelling where we're wanting to make and not saying that Sanction is a villain, but
yeah,
we're wanting to make villains sympathetic. We're wanting people to you know, buy in or see things the villain's way. And so I wanted to ask you that question because I'm interested in what I got from Sanction. I don't have to see him, you know, go down the Frank Castle road per se, be the anti-hero. I want the way you introduced him to us, where, okay, you need me to go handle some business. All right, I got it. like, you know,
right?
like that's that right there. Cause I think I know me as a Black comic book fan, I want to say, Daryl, help me out. The closest I might have gotten to a character like that, which I don't like because it sends the wrong message to me. You telling me I'm still 1/4, 1/3 of a man. It's Deathlock. So you giving me the whole brother, like the whole brother.
Yes.
That's the mercenary. That's what I want right there. And then he close to my age. He got me by 3 years. That's what I want right there. Give me the older dude that's putting hands on folks, and he got it like that, and he looked human. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
and to Daryl's point about that, like that we want to make villains sympathetic or we want to make villains heroic. Like villains aren't heroic. Let's just be clear. They should the best villains have a perspective that you can understand. Killmonger, as depicted by Michael B. Jordan, Magneto, as depicted by both Sir Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender, right? They should have a perspective that you understand. But then they should do a thing that is a bridge too far, where you're like, okay, that's where I got to get off the train. You and I cannot walk this path together anymore because I don't believe in what you're doing. So Sanction isn't even a villain. Like, he really is a mercenary, which means that he decides who should get snuffed and who shouldn't, based on his own idea about how the world works, right? Now, let's talk about the Blood Syndicate mission for a minute, because this is important. So when he gets the call in Shadow Cabinet 1, now you don't know who it is, but you figure it out. It's Angela, right? But you figure that out later. So he was told, right? Like he's like, what kind of mission is this? And she says, this is a clear bag mission, right? So it's not a black bag mission. A black bag mission would have meant to kill him, right? He's like, it's a clear bag mission, right?
Right.
So he's like, okay, if it had been a black bag mission, he probably would have said, I'll get back to you. And then he would have come to a conclusion. Right. But a clear bag mission is like, yeah, okay, I'll do that one. You know what I mean? So that's a thing. Like, he makes his own decisions, but he is neither a hero nor a villain. And I think the term anti-hero is getting overused a bit. So he's a mercenary. Just right down the middle.
True to the game.
And while we're talking about alignment, you know, there is a lot, and like he was saying about the villain thing, there's a lot to be said about evil for evil's sake. You know what I mean? And just we enjoy our doomsdays. We enjoy our jokers. We enjoy, you know, just the people, you know, if you can't count on them to do nothing else, they finna be dastardly and evil. And that's what a villain is supposed to be, you know?
Right.
So we get away from that by, you know, oh, he was right and he was wrong and I don't care. Mess something up, destroy something, kill somebody, make somebody mad at you, do some Norman Osborn type shit.
Listen,
you know what I mean? Oh, yeah, I'm boning your girlfriend and we got kids.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
I got another question.
That's another question.
I'm on a roll. Segue from Daryl, what Daryl was just saying.
Okay.
As a writer,
yes,
you gave us, like I said, you written some wonderful stories. on this channel, we're comic book fans. Daryl and I have discussed this, especially in regards to a certain character, but we can't even say it about that character because that character does have a rogues gallery. They just don't use it. Do you feel like Black do you feel when it comes to Black characters, the lack of a rogues gallery for them?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that hinders their development as characters? Do you even feel like that's an issue? Lack of villains for Black characters?
Yeah, because so first of all, the rogues gallery represents so when you're writing a story, right? One of the things about a character is a character will have their perspective on life tested. So when you talk about the Batman rogues gallery in particular, all of those people became villains through some kind of victim scenario. And from the victim scenario, they emerged and they said, I'm going to beat my trauma by representing my trauma, by personifying the trauma, right? That's how I'm going to beat the trauma. And so they're like representations of their trauma, as is Batman. And they're all challenges to Batman that the world sucks. Like Poison Ivy is a challenge to Batman that we don't care about our planet. The world sucks. The Joker's an irreprehensible villain. It was in the Dark Knight film that he had a perspective that he's like, you know what? This thing we call society, we're all lying to ourselves. I'm the one that knows the truth, and I'm going to show you all the truth about who you are. You are animals. You are not socialized. You're not civilized. You're animals, and we're all liars, right? He had a position. The Clock King, as represented in Batman the Animated Series, had a position, right? So that's the thing about the Rogues Gallery. The Rogues Gallery challenges you. Superman's Rogues Gallery, Wonder Woman's Rogues Gallery, Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. So the absence of and then on a second level, licensing, right? When a character has a Rogues Gallery, that Rogues Gallery can be made into toys. They can be made into characters on film, TV, animation, licensing. So superheroes are legitimized as intellectual properties by their Rogues Gallery. So someone like Luke Cage, who was created in 1972, right? So we're talking about 53 years of Luke Cage in publication. They were developing a Rogues Gallery in the original Power Man series, but they never kept it. They were making the villains, but then they just scattered them. They were just like, whatever. If you look at the first, 30 issues of Luke Cage, that's a Rogues Gallery, man. I mean, the television show, the Netflix show by Chio Hadare Coker did more to acknowledge the Rogues Gallery of Luke Cage than Marvel does in general. But Chio Hadare Coker, right? He's gonna do that shit. He's gonna do his research and he's gonna bring it into the show, right? So yes, I do feel like a Rogues Gallery is a legitimizing factor, both in the story possibilities for a hero and in the value as an intellectual property for corporate significance, right? That's just the truth.
I just wanted to add, because we talked about it, and I'm not gonna ask because tonight we vibe, but nobody ever asked me if I wanted Sam Wilson to be called Captain America. And I know how I felt when Dwayne McDuffie went and said,
hey, that's a whole other conversation.
We're not calling Lamar Hoskins Bucky. We're not doing that. So I'm looking at these characters and I'm like, so Anthony Mackie, no, folks, this ain't got nothing to do with that. I feel like I got to draw a line between that.
No
when
shade
he
on
asked the question about, who's his favorite Captain America villain, and he couldn't give an answer, so he went to the X-Men. Well, we know why that is. You know the villains. The X-Men got a huge rogues gallery.
Yes.
But it says a lot that, and I don't think he knows, but Sam Wilson don't really have any villains. He got villains by way of Steve.
Bingo. His rogues gallery is Steve's rogues gallery. He did not get his own rogues gallery. 100%. I remember when I first was reading the Rick Remender Captain America series, the first Captain America series with Sam, and I liked it. I thought it was smart, but I was like, the dude's being validated through Steve's villains, Baron Zemo, and all this stuff, right? And that's yeah, listen, and that's part of the problem. The part of the problem is that, again, not all characters are given the 360 treatment. And what that says to you is, well, if you don't get the 360 treatment, maybe you ain't going to be around that long. So why we got to give you the 360 treatment? Why we got to invest the time in a rogues gallery if in 4 years you ain't going to be wearing flag? See what I mean? So that's that. Listen, let's just get down to it. Now that's part of it. So what is it, 2025? I see you in 2030. If in 2030 Wilson is still wearing the flag, then he better have a rogues gallery. And if he's not, that's fine by me, because let me tell you something. Falcon's a badass motherfucker.
Okay. And
so we're clear.
Listen,
and that's been the general consensus.
Falcon's a badass motherfucker.
I didn't ask Finn to be Captain America, and if he was being Captain America, he could have did like Richard Grayson does for Batman. You can stand there for a little while, but after a while, I'm gonna need my shield back. You know, so it doesn't have to become that. Falcon is something all by himself. We don't need the identity of Captain America to validate Sam Wilson. He could still be the symbol of truth.
Even what they did with Batman when Richard, I'm not calling him that other name, I'm not doing that. Even when Richard took over for Bruce, they made sure to point out the differences with him as Batman as opposed to Bruce. He's smaller in stature. He's more acrobatic. Like they went above and beyond to let you know this was Richard. When it comes to Sam, and I tell people, I say, y'all put me in an uncomfortable position, like asking me as a Michael Jordan fan to defend LeBron James. You're asking me to defend Sam. I don't necessarily want to do that. But Daryl and I talked about it. Sam's 6'2", 250 and can talk to birds. He's 6'2", 250. That's Ray Lewis, one inch taller. And he can communicate to birds, and we know birds snatching up whole sheep and flying off with him.
Dude, I mean, you know, and the thing is also, like, it's so funny because obviously since Falcon was created, his character's been through so much crap. Like, what the definitive origin of Sam Wilson is, it's hard to zoom in on it. But the thing is, you gotta know that this guy is formidable in his own right. You gotta know he can fight. You gotta know he's a strategist. I mean, that's part of what I really liked about the Blood Hunt crossover. I feel like that really showed, like, Sam Wilson as a leader. You know what I mean? And it wasn't about the costume. It was about the man. And so that's the thing. So here's the thing. I don't mind him being Captain America for a time. I do want him to be the Falcon again, because the Falcon is a potent character. So I want that back.
And I do have a question regarding Sam Wilson.
Yes.
Okay. Everything you said, I echo. Okay. Now, there's just this one thing, though. Like, if this one time we have this like ongoing conversation, I forget the specific issue, but I know it was Captain America, Symbol of Truth, and Sam Wilson ended up in Wakanda without his Falcon gear.
Yeah.
He came to odds with T'Challa.
Yeah.
And they fought.
Yeah.
And he was holding his own.
Well, that's
not
ridiculous.
Not to say he shouldn't, but wait a minute.
That's ridiculous.
Ain't okay. That's all I was waiting for. That's all I was waiting for right there. I was waiting to hear some kind of
listen.
Let
me tell you how I would rate that.
Yes, sir.
That fight would last 30 seconds. And I would have T'Challa say, I respect you, Sam. So that's why I let it go that long.
Mind you,
because it should really last 10 seconds.
Mind you, I'm covering David Liss's run, Black Panther, the Man Without Fear.
Man Alive, I think.
Yeah, he took Luke down in about 30 seconds, and he supposedly ain't have no abilities in Hell's Kitchen when he said, Luke laying on the ground. So when you say that, 30 seconds, tell me if I'm far or if I'm in the vicinity. Sam rolls up on T'Challa in Wakanda. That's the wrong place to do that because he's literally got home field advantage. All right. You 6'2", 250. Well, I think he's 6'1", 6'2", and he's an Olympic level athlete. That's before he took the heart shape early. I'm not of the mindset. Say that again, big dog.
And about 200 pounds even.
Right. So watch this. Mr. Illidge, you are the writer. You're the expert. Daryl and I pride ourselves on being Black Panther fans. Knowledgeable Black Panther fans. So tell me if I'm wrong with this one. You taking on T'Challa in Wakanda. Yeah, you talk to birds, but you in Wakanda. And Bast, the goddess, the head of the Orisha, she heavily influences that area. So while it's true, you talk to the birds, the avians, I'm of the mindset they ain't necessarily checking for you, Sam, because you're in Wakanda. And before they listen to you, they would listen to the Demisa Sarki of Wakanda. That would be T'Challa, because he's the avatar of Bast.
Oh, well, listen, I mean, all sentient life in Wakanda respects the authority of the king. And that goes to the birds. That goes to the birds. I mean, it only makes sense, right? Birds are intelligent creatures. You in Wakanda, T'Challa is your king. You probably, T'Challa probably says good morning to you every morning, and you chirp back at him and whatever. It's like, your first allegiance would be to the king of your land.
Come on, somebody. See, Daryl, we might be crazy, but we ain't stupid.
You, intelligent, versed, iconic, legendary person in the field for saying that, because for some strange reason we say it all the time and folks tell us we crazy.
You know what?
At least listen, that's how I would approach it. This is all I'm saying. If I was writing it, I would approach it that way. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you know what? That's written
right
from a knowledgeable standpoint, though. Like,
right way.
What you just said made sense because we've seen this. And they've written this in the Avengers cartoon. T'Challa, especially Avengers Assemble, that last season, what was T'Challa doing? Getting up, exercising with a giant snake first thing in the morning. That's your workout plan?
But he has the relationships with, the life forms there, because also think about it, so he, is part of a long lineage that connects to a panther god, right? Which means that his relationship with animal life forms, as you pointed out, it comes from not only the familial responsibility, the title, but it comes from the mythology, the mythological beings. And so he's just attuned, right? He's attuned to the life in that place. I just, you know what I mean? I remember years ago, this must have been 30 years ago, I saw Chris Claremont at some signing, and he was talking about Wonder Woman, I think, or it might have been an interview I read. And he said, if you take Wonder Woman off of Earth, right? Like, she's with the Justice League and she's leaving Earth, going to some other planet. She's not going to be as strong because she was born of the Earth on this planet. She has a very specific relationship, genetically and spiritually, with this planet. You take her off it, you change a bunch of variables. You see what I'm saying? So that's the thing. It's like when you're dealing with who is the Black Panther, you're dealing on a metaphysical level as well as the physical. Yeah.
And
at least that's the way I see it.
Oh, no. I want to thank you for that insight.
To your point, that has actually been reflected. That empathic relationship that T'Challa is supposed to have with nature. And I hate to keep going back to Dennis Cowan's run on Black Panther and back in 1988, but the whole crux of that story was the Black Panthers attacked T'Challa. If the Black Panthers are attacking T'Challa, that is a sign that he's no longer worthy as king. And we need to do something about that. And that's what that whole 4-issue run was about. And it ended up Baz actually coming and telling him, hey, you need to step your game up, sir. More in the way Baz chose to do it. But basically, step your game up, boy. I'm still with you, but you need to step your game up.
And also, let's just be clear, like, mythological beings, the gods, they're not that kind or compassionate. They don't treat us with kid gloves.
They're capricious.
Listen, we should feel very fortunate that they will even talk with us. Right? That's their perspective. So Bath's perspective is certainly not we're equals. It's you're a representation of my dominion in this world, so act like it.
I think Karama Horn, the more I'm covering her book, The Protectors of Wakanda.
Yes. She did a lot of research.
Listen, how can I put this? I'm not amazed as much as I am appreciative of the amount of research she put into doing it, because as I was talking to Darren and my elder, Mr. Smith, she read a lot. She read to get where she at, and I can't even say I'm halfway through it right now. I think we're getting ready to go to chapter 2, but for her to do that,
through it,
huh?
I think you read the whole book.
The thing is, I'm doing a view discussion, and it's more one of those things where I want my first interaction to be with everybody else that didn't get the book or whatever. I want to be able to enjoy that moment with them. But I can tell once she cared, and that's the most important thing. She cared 100%. About what she was doing, 100%. But she was also dedicated. Like, I'm sitting back and I'm looking like, oh, so you went back. And I don't think she's as old as me. Let me just say that. I don't think she's as old as me. So I'm saying, oh, so you went back and got some stuff. Like, you went through the archives and did some stuff. And I'm saying to myself, if she can do this for this specific project, she did a great job.
Yeah.
There's no, well, let me put it like, there are no excuses. There are tons of excuses, but no reasons. A ton of excuses, but no reason why anyone writing this character or any character going forward gets it wrong. If she can do it.
Yeah, it's funny. She and I actually spoke about the work she did quite a bit. And what I will tell you is, there's like Marvel Comics and there's like Marvel Press, right? And then there are the publishers that have the license to do Marvel things. and like all these different houses. So I think part of what happens with licenses, unfortunately, is there's not the one book, there's not the one Bible that is given to everybody. And it's like, these are the rules and they are sacrosanct, right? So I think whether you're dealing with Black Panther, you're dealing with Star Wars, well, Star Wars may be a bit more, but Star Trek, stuff like that. I feel like this is definitely happening with Godzilla now. It gets spread out and it gets fractured, but there's never like the one definitive thing. And so that's part of what I think happened with Black Panther. And if Marvel Comics is on their game, anybody who edits Black Panther should read her book and know that book. Now, and that's part of it, right? Part of it is when you are editing a character, you should have a certain level of knowledge of that character. So, for example, and I don't, when I was a Batman editor, I grew up on Batman books of the 70s and 80s and early 90s. One of them was called The Legend of the Batman. I think it came out in 1978. And it was a 3-issue story. And there's this scene in the story, I never forgot it, burned into my skull. Someone pulls a gun on Batman. And Batman loses it. He just, with a very stiff hand, he's just smacking this guy. And he's basically saying, don't you ever pull a gun on me. With every emphasis, he smacked him with a stiff hand. Like he smacked this guy unconscious and he was still smacking him. Why? Because Batman lost his parents through a gun. A gun is an evil, evil thing to him. Right? So, as a Batman editor, there was a time when I saw in some other office, like the Justice League office, like Batman wanted to save Huntress's life and he picks up a Gatling gun and he's like, I'm like, Batman would never do that. Psychologically, he would never validate the existence of a gun by using it. And Batman has trained himself so he would never need to use a gun. So him picking one up, no.
Makes no sense.
And so for that, I went to my boss, Denny O'Neil, the Batman group editor. He went to the writer and that editor, and it got fixed. But that's because I had a knowledge of this character and his ethos. I don't know if editors working on characters or editors acting as caretakers, I don't know if they have intimate knowledge of the characters.
Well, I will say this because I think you're doing yourself a disservice to a degree. I don't think it's just the fact that the editors have to have the ethos. It's the knowledge. They were willing to listen to you. I'm of the mind, everybody don't know everything, and the editor realized they did not know everything about Batman, so they seeded, and folks act like it's a big deal. No, we're not perfect. We all make mistakes. They seeded the knowledge to you, because like, you know what, that makes sense. I think I would be remiss if I didn't say I wish more editors would be open to constructive criticism before they just go 4 or 5 issues in. Now you done lost money. You think it's the character's fault. It ain't the character's fault. It's the character. The character is not writing themselves. The character is not writing themselves. It's the writer. It's you as the editor. The writer writes the story. He passes it on to you. You're supposed to, or should, know more about the characters that the writers are writing than the writer.
It would be ideal.
If not,
it would be ideal if you did, right?
Here's what I'm asking. If you don't know more than the writer, because me and Daryl been going hard at this for like 5 years now, Daryl, comic book reviews. How do you know you getting it wrong? You would like to think you're looking at the sales. Or since folks have been asking for folks to write in, you would be looking at the letters that are coming in. Or in 2025, to your point, looking at the social media boards. They're telling the fans, telling you how they feel about something. Like, how you getting it wrong?
It's a, you know what? It's a good question. This is what I would say. I think there's two factors. Number one, there's a lot of social media. So to keep track of all of it is a trick. But I think, especially with Black Panther is that's a character that's so beloved. I think if you're a Black Panther editor, I think you really want to say, okay, you want to have your finger on the pulse of who out there represent what I would call the top gun of Black Panther fans, because they could actually be a resource. I could learn from their perspective, right? So that's one. The second thing is, there are so many goddamn comic books being made, and the staffs are shrinking. So, I mean, I was an editor in the 90s. We had time and we had mentorship. I was mentored by Dwayne McDuffie, one of the best editors North American comics ever produced. Then I was mentored by Denny O'Neil, one of the best editors North American comics ever produced. And both of them are some of the best writers that the 20th century of comics produced. I was lucky. I don't know if most people get mentorship like that. You know, when I was coming up in comics, you had like the great editors, the great ones. I don't know who the pantheon is now. I don't know if every company has like what I would call the three authorities. You know, who are the mentors in any given company? I don't know if that kind of editorial mentorship is part of the climate now. But
is it even a thing? I mean,
listen, I don't know. I don't know
about it, but I mean, not to cut you off, but when we talk about it, do we talk about it from a perspective of the big two, or independence?
Well, I know Vellani had a mentor.
We frequently talk about, you know, independent comics and independent comic companies and writers, and you know, and have interviewed them. And do we feel, well, at least they don't, but we would like them to be the wave of the future. I mean, because in industry, ain't that what's supposed to happen? Eventually the old is supposed to make way for the new. And if you're making waves and people are talking about you, and you know, why don't we see what we're supposed to see as far as new blood coming in, and that new blood that's coming in being mentored? I know there were programs. I think DC had a program where they were mentoring young writers and young artists, and
right, the Milestone Initiative. Yes.
Right. So, I mean, how much of that's still going on?
You know, I know at the companies you are, you know, you're seeing a generational shift in editorial. That's one thing that's happening. When you're talking about Marvel, you know, Tom Brevoort is basically the last of the old guard, right? And when you're talking about DC, Marie Javins, who's the editor-in-chief, old guard, right? So you have old guard, but I think, you know, again, for me, Dwayne McDuffie was a person of particular cultural perspective. So what I'm not seeing at these companies is people in senior positions with different perspectives, right? I feel like any top level publisher would benefit by basically having like a United Nations, right? So when we're developing the mythologies of the future, we're developing them with a world view. That world view is delivered downward to the editors, who then deliver it outward to the writers.
To your point, and I forget the guy's name. He was on the Breakfast Club. It's a brother. And he was talking about, when we talk about diversity, he was talking about how folks have so much to say about DEI. We know that's code for everything else. But he said, when you look at the two most diverse cities in America or states in America, they make more money. LA and New York.
Right.
Two most diverse states. Then he compared 3 states. He said 3 southern states had a lower GPG, gross national product. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. Than Atlanta.
Yeah.
Atlanta had a higher gross national product rating than 3 southern states. Atlanta, who is the most diverse city in the South. So to your point, when we look at these comic book characters, and I don't, we vibing. We're gonna keep the vibe going. We vibing. But to your point, it's like, so they not understanding. You got these characters here, and you can get all the money. All the money.
Yes.
You get all the money. Because I want all the money. I don't want some of it. I don't want just the black dollar. I need everybody dollar. I'm like, so if you at me, I'm a heterosexual black man.
Okay.
I would need, I know some people that are members of the LGBTQ plus, but I don't think I know enough to effectively write a character that represents LGBTQ plus community. Okay. So if I'm a writer or editor and I got a comic book that's got a member from this community, why would I not chop it up with somebody from that community if I don't just have somebody writing that character anyway? Like, part of it makes sense.
part of what this comes down to is, who are the people that you hire to work with you as caretakers of the characters? Like, when I was working in the Batman editorial department, from my perspective, I'm one of the people responsible for taking care of Bruce and all the characters, the Birds of Prey when I edited that, Dinah and Babs, Cassandra came back, girl. Like, I'm Cassie's uncle in a way, right? So it's like, I have a responsibility. So the thing is, you hire the people and you have the conversations to deliver the truth of the character, right? The truth of the character. Part of, it's, you mentioned DEI, right? Like, part of what's very interesting is how society takes from us what it wants, but then it will erect these walls so that we don't get to have all of what it has, right? So when you say a company should want all the money, right? So why don't they do like equal service to all the characters? Well, certain characters are more important to them than others, right?
Clearly.
That's right. That's just a fact. Certain characters are more important to them than others. Black Panther is only really important because the first film made over $1 billion. Just so we're clear. If that film did not succeed the way it did, you would not have a Black Panther in the Avengers. You would not have an Ultimate Black Panther series, but that film made it necessary, right? The same way how we've got a Superman film coming out, so it's the summer of Superman. And no matter what direction you look in, you're gonna see some Superman family stuff.
So to your point, I want to ask you a question, because you right there. Like, first of all, let me say it again. Thank you so much for coming tonight. You are dropping nuggets of knowledge we didn't have before. It is such a pleasure to have you here. So when you say that, because I want to ask, so I'm a member of Marvel Unlimited. That's what that is.
Yep.
So $9.99 a month. You can't beat that.
I was for a while. Yes.
So there was a point in history where Marvel was and you gotta tell me, because I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not sure. Because I know the movie came out in 2018. There
100%.
was a period where Marvel Comics couldn't get enough of dropping Black Panther this, Black Panther Soul of the Machine, Shuri this, Eric Killmonger that, World of Wakanda. Was all that taking place around about that time frame? I'm not sure. But because I'm like, if you was going ham on T'Challa, because I don't know who asked for Soul of the Engine, it was a comic book devoted to Lexus. Really? T'Challa got a tie in Lexus.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm
I may have heard that. Yeah.
You had T'Challa all over the place. And they know he's a viable commodity because you threw him over there. Cody Ziegler did an excellent job with him over in Miles Morales Spider-Man. Shout out to Cody Ziegler for that.
Yeah. Wasn't
really a fan of the whole Predator versus. You know what? I'm not even going to finish the rest of that. Not because I don't want to do that.
Thank you.
We got him Aliens versus Avengers. You know, got Azari over there and everything like that. It's almost like, well, he went missing for 5 issues in Avengers. I don't know what's going on over there, but it's almost like they know, to your point, they know he can make money. They know he's a money maker, but we got other characters we consider more important to him.
I now have a question.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead, Daryl.
First, let me say with the T'Challa thing, I feel like that was a perfect storm because around 2010, from 2010, 2014, Ta-Nehisi Coates was doing Black Panther and that was getting
I feel like Ta-Nehisi, he came in, didn't he come in around, I think he came in around like 2015, 2016.
Well, prior to T'Challa's appearance in Captain America Civil War, Ta-Nehisi Coates had the character of Black Panther lit up and on people's radar. So
as did Jonathan Hickman.
Yes.
Jonathan Hickman has always shown T'Challa love. But that particular appearance and then Civil War kind of springboarded him and into where he was this phenomenon. And then we got the Black Panther movie, and then it was like, okay, he there's nothing stopping him from being A-list.
Right.
But
I think what you just said, though, you said Tom Brevoort is from the old guard. And if Tom Brevoort is from the old guard of how Marvel was doing stuff, Marvel Comics, then I'm going to make the assumption C.B. Cebulski is from the old guard, too. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm 56, Daryl 57, you 55, he's 55.
55.
We remember when T'Challa was hit and miss in the comics as far as showing up.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we're going back to that where he's hit and miss showing up in the comics because we got the old guard in place, and the old guard, that's where you at. They haven't evolved past the 70s and the 80s. That mindset, they are focusing on the characters they want to focus on, which is crazy because the fans are literally telling the old guard what they care about. You got to be right when you say it because only your old guard would think taking them from Krakoa back to Gray Market Lanes was the right thing to do. You should have never done. You know what? You absolutely right.
listen.
You just answered the question.
Where I was at before we went into that was I was talking about where T'Challa became this popular household thing. Okay. That's where the billions came from.
Okay.
But yet and still, as we speak at this very moment, there is not a monthly Black Panther comic book for 616 T'Challa.
That's true. Yes.
Now, if he's supposed to be this great character, if he's supposed to be so bankable, if he's supposed to be so marketable, how come?
Okay. That's a great question.
Now the question was,
okay,
do you think companies purposely elevate some characters while purposely de-elevating others?
So I'll answer that question, and then I'll get to the Krakoa question, the X-Men question. So I worked at a publisher once. I worked at a company, and the publisher, the person, said something in a meeting to a number of us that I never forgot. He said, if everything is important, then nothing is important. So at any given company, there are priorities, right? It's like, what's priority, what's secondary, what's tertiary, right? There are those levels. That's how companies treat intellectual properties. That's how companies treat people. Who's a primary, like employee? Who's secondary level? Who's tertiary? Right? The Black characters are not generally considered A-list. They're generally not, right? I mean, we spoke earlier about the absence of a rogues gallery, right? Now, these companies are owned by mega companies. So what they usually do is they align their publishing with the media companies. So it'll go something like this. When the next Wakanda thing is coming out, whether it's a Wakanda animated series, a Wakanda live action series, or Black Panther 3, when that is on deck, when that is in development, and we're constantly seeing it in Hollywood Report and Variety, the Black Panther stuff will start ticking up. Because they're gonna wanna develop the wave for when that hits. But what they do not do, they do not maintain waves. They do not do that for characters that are not considered the A-list characters. That's just a fact, right? Now let's talk about Black Panther 616. Black Panther 616 has been through some trauma insofar as being represented with the potency that is due him. So you got Ultimate Black Panther, which is actually giving him the agency that the 6161 should have, right? And what I think is that unless a 616 series is going to match Ultimate Black Panther, they're not going to do it because the fans are going to rebel against it. And they're going to be like, why are you giving me punk ass T'Challa here when we got 6161? Now, Jed McKay is starting to do that in Avengers. Let's see what the next 6 to 9 months looks like. Let's see if we get a Black Panther 616 series.
It's crazy you said that.
Right. Well, hold on. I want to finish this. Sorry. Let me finish this, and then let me answer your core question. But this is what I think is even more important. And I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm tired of Black Panther 1s. I'm tired, because I feel like every year is another Black Panther 1. And every time I pick up a Black Panther 1, I feel like a sucker. You know what I want? I want Black Panther 100.
Hey!
That's what I want. I want the run that just goes. I want Black Panther 25, Black Panther 50, Black Panther 100. That's what I want. That's what I want, right? So I think that's another thing too. I think we're dealing with this reboot fatigue, which is a lot. Whereas you have Ultimate Black Panther, and it's just going. Ultimate Black Panther is going, right? That's something that we're like, oh, this is a long-term plan. And you guys spoke with my friend, Mr. Hill, so you know he's a long plan thinker.
Well, we're trying to get him on the show. We are trying to get him on the show.
Okay, well, if you speak with him, you're gonna get into his mind. That guy's a story genius. So now let's get to the Krakoa thing. Krakoa was never gonna last, and the reason it was never gonna last, and I'm honestly surprised it went 5 years. The reason it was never gonna last is because that vision of the X-Men would have made them the characters. The Avengers could never compare. The Fantastic Four could never compare. It's like, it's the X-Men. But when you look at Marvel Studios, the X-Men ain't even in rotation yet. So if the X-Men aren't in rotation, how in the publishing we gonna have the X-Men be the top of the food chain? We can't allow that. We gotta knock them back down. Because our publishing has to parallel the media, right? So,
you know, I'm laughing because so me and Daryl talk, and you know,
different words.
We talk, and so we were talking about, you know, the characters over there at Marvel, and these characters aren't trying because they're characters, so they can't try. But if they were to be written like they could be written, so Aurora would be the top female over at Marvel. Not sure they want that, but Aurora Monroe, if she's written like she's supposed to, she's easily you.
Isn't that what's going on now?
I would think so. Now? I would think so. Like you would easily be able to get movies just about Aurora. Like that would be your Diana Prince. You don't want to do this because not you. They don't want to do this. Cap ain't ever got you 1.3 billion. That means the most charismatic character you got over there, which is number one, it ain't Tony, because the big three really ain't Tony. It's really Hulk, Spider-Man, and I guess we could say Steve. But it ain't Tony. Oh no. If you write that dude the way he want to, the way he's supposed to be written, you now got European children talking about, I want to be T'Challa. That's what you're gonna want. The king, his own country, and an intergalactic empire. To your point, did you know Miles Morales got more solo issues than T'Challa?
I did not know that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, Miles got more solo issues than T'Challa, and Miles just got here.
Mathematically possible.
But here's the thing. But listen. So let's kind of put a pin on this, because I love Marvel, but I don't want to forget about like Milestone and stuff like that. And
I got you. That was going to be my next segue. But go ahead.
But let's put a pin. I'm going to tell you something. The amount of people that will go see a Black Panther film will not buy a Black Panther comic. And we have not set up the pipelines haven't been set up to change that. Right? Because listen. How many people have mobile technology? You watching a Black Panther film, if you put a QR code at the end of a Black Panther film, and I go like this, and that leads me to some section of Marvel, which is like, here's the first Christopher Priest run, here's this run, here's that run. These are the ones that influence what you just watch. And you just buy it fast like an Amazon transaction. But we haven't set up the pipeline to migrate the numbers to the publishing. You see? So in publishing, we can't prove that Black Panther is at the top of the food chain like he was at Marvel Studios, because there's no pipeline to make it so. So
that boy good.
You know what I'm saying?
He is. So we spinning the block back. We coming back to Milestone because that's what we're here for and everything like that. So
well, before we go back, there's some meat on this bone here that we didn't touch, and that's this character right here.
Bloodlet.
He has a comic coming out April, right? Am I mistaken? It's April, right?
It got moved to June. It's gonna be in the Image solicits very soon. It got moved to June.
Okay. Now, we were talking before the show about Bloodletter.
Yes.
She is a new character that we have found out is the target that Al Simmons was set to sanction when the events took place that made him spawn.
Yes.
So,
Well,
and then we find out she's got, access to spawn. Like, you know what? I'm gonna let you tell it.
okay. So, but you got a lot of the good stuff there. So I'm gonna just go and back it out. So the character's name, what she's known as in the world, is Bloodletter. Her real name is Tasha Thornwall. She was ex-CIA. Now Spawn was ex-CIA, right? Al Simmons.
Right.
He was the sanction of the Spawn universe, right? He was that dude.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
if you see his face, you're gonna get a bullet in the face. Right? He was that guy.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna spoil it because I want everyone to read the first issue and hopefully read more, because the co-writer and I, Tim Seeley, have really put a lot into this. But Tasha and her team were on one mission, and it puts them in opposition with Simmons. And that's the guy you don't want to be in opposition with, right? So it goes badly. It goes bad. And so Tasha has been like off grid for like 10 years. Now, in those 10 years, freaking Al Simmons becomes Spawn, gets teleported 5 years in the future because the Malabolgia fucked with him, right? So that when he would come back to the world to Spawn, it's like, well, Wanda's married.
And got a
and
kid
like,
by your best friend.
You understand what I'm saying? So he loses 5 years. So he's been in the world for 5 years. Tasha's been in the world for 10 years. She thinks he's dead because in the intelligence community, they will say, Al Simmons got popped in the face. But in Spawn, I think it was like 298, Al Simmons went public and on the news, shown all over the world, he takes off he's like, my name is Al Simmons and I'm here to save your souls.
Right.
And Tasha, okay, so here's the thing. Like, I think comic book writers or comic books will sometimes take trauma not seriously enough. When someone has impacted you greatly and that person comes back, that's a knife in you, right? And so for Tasha, she's like, okay, my entire future plans, they are wiped off the table. There is no schedule. There are no more missions. There is only one mission. I am going to kill Spawn. That's the mission, right? Because that dude basically destroyed my life 10 years ago and set me on the path to get here. I can't accept a world in which he is alive. See what I'm saying? So that's what's up. That's what's up. It's
June. You say June, right?
Yep, June, mid-June.
Listen. June, we need to set the reminders. We need to go ahead and let the count. Well, it's March now, so we could it's too early. Let them know.
As soon as they solicit it, then what anyone can do is they can go to their comic book shop and be like, yo, put that on my list.
But listen, we need you to let us know. We're gonna be looking out for it. But if you know before we do, we going that Fallout Comics will be getting a phone call from me. Hey, I need that. I need that.
Because I'm telling you right now, like, the art is amazing. The art is amazing. And in the Spawn universe, you can just be mean. Spawn is an R-rated universe, right? Milestone is a PG-13 universe, right?
Full of child molesters and murderers and nihilists. And
I'm gonna take the time to do this. I'm gonna pitch this idea to you, Mr. Illidge, because me and Daryl down here. We I don't know. We down here. It's hard out here for Black action figure collectors. It's hard. It's hard out here.
100%. I agree.
It's hard out here. I don't You say Curtis. You spoke to 50.
Yeah,
I know 50 like investing in stuff. He do.
It's true.
And 50 got
vitamin water, all this stuff.
Yeah, he got an eye for investing in some stuff too. If and when you could be so kind to do so, let Curtis know. There's a lane that can be filled that we can take advantage of. Action figure, a 50 cent action figure.
Oh my goodness. Well, listen.
112 scale, pinless joints, butterfly shoulders, fully articulated.
That would be something. Now, is there a version? Is there a version of him upside down like he was at the Super Bowl when Dr. Dre brought everyone together?
He gonna give us a diorama set piece. He gonna sell that too. Where we can play June, have his figure hanging up from doing the ad. Please talk to Curtis. And the reason I'm saying true told in a joke.
In the meantime, though, what we will do is collaborate and prepare a finished product to present.
Yeah, because the reason why I'm saying is because Daryl and I, we believe so, and I can tell you do too. We believe so much in Black imagery representation. You know, just being able to see that. I had some kids. I didn't do a video of it because I feel like that's kind of cheesy. Had some young kids come into my office looking at Black action figures. One kid, my favorite character is Spider-Man. He was talking about Peter Parker. Another kid said his favorite character was Batman, and he was talking about Bruce. And I brought them into the office and explained to them. And when I say they're young, if my daughter here is 13, then these kids were like 10 years or younger.
Yeah.
10 years or younger.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if we feel it, if we sense it, but when our kids go to the Target or Walmart and they go on the toy aisle, they're not seeing them unless they're looking at WWE wrestlers, AWE wrestlers and everything like that. There are so many Black characters out there, and I understand the licensing and everything, but there are some, as my brother has alluded to, that there's no specific license needed. We can't even do Black mythical figures. And when I say that, I'm talking about like African gods or something like that.
100%.
Those action figures will sell, not just to our demographic, but action figure collectors point blank, period. We do something like be able to put those action figures out in different shades of brown, different hairstyles, as opposed to this hairstyle, my brother's hairstyle, or the flat top. And we ain't got the three.
Yeah.
I think there would be some money in that.
I totally agree with you that, you know, when you look at how Todd McFarlane started Todd Toys, right? Which was really a brilliant move. That was like a George Lucas move, right? Like, you know, everyone knows George Lucas for Star Wars, but two of the biggest things that he ever created was Industrial Light and Magic and Skywalker Sound. And all of Hollywood uses ILM for special effects and Skywalker Sound for sound, right? So Todd McFarlane, even though he was like this successful comic book guy, that he had the foresight to say, hey, you know what? Like, what's part of this whole complex is action figures. And he looked at the action figures. He was like, they're not good enough. Like, I could do better than that. And he did. So Todd Toys is now like this amazing company. I think we do need a Black entrepreneur to do that, right? To your point, we do need that. 100%. Yeah, because these figures, these toys, they help perpetuate the characters. They help expand the characters globally, right? Like you have Icon, I have Static, and I mean, there's like 120 different Batmans, you know what I mean? So it's like these things are part of the whole entertainment intellectual property complex. So I agree with you that you see a lot of Black entrepreneurship in other areas. It would be very cool to really have one really get down to it when it comes to toys.
I really wish we would, because if you talk about 112 scale, or Daryl, what was Todd McFarlane's line? Was it 112?
110.
110. So there's so much money to be made there. And when I just, I don't know if Grand Madam Tarot is watching us, but we talked about the Orisha, the Black Pantheon, Bass, Sekhmet, things of that nature. Ta, if we could, like, they're not superheroes, but dadgum, if they're made right and you can sell them because they're going to appeal to everybody, that's knowledge being grown. Because who is this action figure? You put a little card on the back and everything like that. Now you got somebody Googling the actual person, mythological figure, character that the action figure is based on. So,
and I would argue that these mythological beings, they are superheroes. I mean, that's what Thor is. That's what Hercules is, right?
Right.
They're from myth, and they were turned into superheroes. They're superheroes. So, yes, I agree with you 100% on that, and I would like to see that.
Now, before we dive right back in, we're gonna dive right back in Shadow Cap in a second. Since we getting on our personal horses, I'm getting on a personal horse. I maybe don't know this, and this might be a reveal and a shock to some people, but I would like to do children's books.
Oh, it's great.
And so you know where I'm going, right?
I do know where you're going.
Yeah, okay. Judge Kim and the kids' court.
Yes.
Now, tell me a little bit about how, and it's through Simon and Schuster, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now tell me a little bit how you kind of pivoted over here, because I always, we got Little Red Riding Hood and Cinderella and all of these, but I know there are a lot of celebrities. There are a lot of Black celebrities out there who have written children's books. A friend of mine, Greg Burnham, who does he's written a children's book called Swim Kelly Swim, which is like based on the experience of like him and his brother going to the swimming pool. But how does one kind of slide over there? Because it don't look like it's a lane a lot of people messing with.
Wow, it's children's books is that's a whole other ecosystem with a set of rules. What I will tell you is that Judge Kim and the Kids Court was created by myself and 3 other people. Sean Martinborough, who's well known in North American comics, Milo Stone, who is one of the writers, and Christopher Jordan, who's an amazing artist. All 4 of us are connected because we all went to School of Visual Arts, the college here in New York City. So that's kind of like our common origin point and the basis of our relationships, as well as Milestone. We were all connected to Milestone. And so Judge Kim was actually something we had sitting around for a while. Like, we came up with the whole Bible, the world, and everything. And it was really a matter of timing. Like, there's talent and there's timing. And it really came down to, because Sean and I have these, kind of like established lineages in comics, I would say, right? That helped provide the legitimacy through which to get a literary agent to then shop Judge Kim to different editors in the children's book, the trade book publishing arena, right? But that really came down to having the resumes, right? The careers, and an idea that an agent could look at and say, you know what, this doesn't exist. We need this, right? Sean grew up on LA Law is still one of his favorite shows to this day. And so he liked the idea of bringing law to kids. And then for me, I really liked the journey. I feel like Black girls especially need to see themselves take the journeys that usually boys get to take, right? And we're at a time now where I'm going to try to not really get on the soapbox, but the wrong characteristics of humanity are being uplifted. And the best characteristics that we have to offer are being pushed down. One of them is empathy, right? Another one is the capacity to want to know the truth, to want to know facts, right? Another one is the capacity for non-violent conflict resolution. These are things which are just very important to me in life. And so it was important to be able to say, hey, here's this Black girl inspired by her mom, who's a judge, to like become a judge of her neighborhood. And when the kids have conflicts, it's like, hey, we're going to solve it in the treehouse court. And we're going to do it like law, right? We're not going to hit one another. We're not going to immediately like believe a lie. It's like, let's take this to court and let's like put it all through the wash, right? Kids need to see that. Our kids need to see that because we're in a serious battle right now. Like anyone, like we're
in a propaganda
we're gonna have to be stronger. Yeah. We're gonna have to be wiser, and it's unfair to ask that of us because we have endured so much, we have overcome so much, we have proven so much, and we are so much. But damn it, we keep getting tested. We have to be wiser and better. We have to impart upon young people the best values. And I don't care what values the richest person in the world represents. And I don't care what values someone in a big white building I'm talking about the best that we have to offer, right? And so that to me is, you know, what we're doing with all these stories, right, is we're kind of like, we're inoculating, right? We're injecting a body with ideas, right? Like Shadow Cabinet, Shadow Cabinet has multiple purposes. It's entertainment and then it's some other things. Judge Kim is the same thing. It's entertainment and then it's some other things, right? So that's the thing. It's like, you know, as storytellers, we have this opportunity to just really have these conversations with younger people or whatever. And that's the thing. And it's like, you know what? It's just like Static, right? It's like Static, Virgil Hawkins, he was always a cool kid. But the problem was he was trying to be what other people think is cool. But once he realized, hey, you know what? I'm smart. I'm a good guy. I am cool. That's what makes him heroic. It's not the lightning powers. It's his character. Yeah.
You said the story is entertaining and it tells something else. Your Shadow Cabinet did exactly that. We were talking about it before we came on, and I mentioned, you know, I forget her name, but Their Eyes Were Watching God. Where normally we would talk about.
Oh yes, Zora Neale Hurston.
Right.
Yeah.
Normally we would talk about the mulatto through the woman's eyes, and in your Shadow Cabinet, we got the mulatto story being told through the male's eyes, with Alva's grandfather actually being a black man passing for a white man. So even in your and there were other stories you got in there.
Let's talk about it.
That ain't the only one, but there was so much that you said with that if you were someone who was not familiar with, we call it African American history. Because I know what folks like to do. It's American history. It's American history, dadgummit.
It's all of
it. Yeah. So you gave us that, like you took us back to a time of like, oh. Then you spared it. You even took us to the 60s during the civil rights era. Mama got a black child. Mama ain't feeling. And there are stories of the child being us as people, being raised by someone we thought was our biological, just to realize when we got older, there was no relation whatsoever. So you did that. You know, like I said, you got some entertainment value in here, but you have a lot of stories, lessons, and to your point, like you said, the next writer, whoever he wants to write coming out of this 4-issue series, you got them set up for success. Now, whether they achieve it or not is something totally different. But you got some stories in here. You got some lessons, some teachable stuff in here.
since we shadow cabineting, let's just go ahead and get all the way in. There were two relationships, two dynamics that I really enjoyed. And it was the relationship between Curtis Metcalf, Hardware,
Yeah.
and Rocket, Raquel Urban.
Yeah.
That relationship to me seemed like really real because I know people who interact with each other like that, and you just got, well, how come you didn't do it as that? Oh, just shut up and do it. You know, and that's like the kind of, and I'm like, that's real writing. That feel like that was drawn from something, you know, real
family stuff.
And the other relationship is Raquel and Virgil.
Yes.
Virgil's been traumatized by the events that have taken place, and he's taken that because I know people like this. I know people like this. They like, okay, if it ain't in my neighborhood, excuse my language, I ain't fucking with it. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the stance they take, and it don't matter what. If it ain't my people, if they don't look like me, then they got an agenda and that kind of thing. And Raquel she's wrestling with the fact that, you know, I could potentially be the next defender of the earth, you know, so to speak, that kind of a thing. And it's like, yo, Virgil, why don't you step up and come help me? You know, and Virgil's like, nah, people coming up here in the neighborhood acting crazy, and I'm gonna be right. And it took the people who cared about him actually telling him, dude, you need the world needs you. It ain't just the block that needs you. So you're gonna have to open up your mind and go ahead and get out there and get the static in for real and quit doing this play static around the block. So So I really, really enjoy seeing, you know, them two bounce off each other, and then at the end, like Theo kind of hinted to, are we gonna see a rocket and a static kind of thing going on?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even have to be involved romantically. It could just be just the dynamic between them two, because I know, you know, Virgil will say some things to her like, oh girl, I know you feeling me, and Raquel like, nah, I'm really not, you know. So it's a lot of meat on that bone to work with. So it would be a fantastic thing if we could see it, man.
Well, first of all, I'm really glad that, you know, you keyed into the relationships, right? Because like that's what's important, right? Like, you know, with Rocket, you know, being the only one out there day and night doing the thing, right? And then she meets a shadow cabinet, and basically, like, Dharma tells her, hey, you're gonna die in a few days. And she doesn't want to admit it to herself, but that freaks her out. And so she's fighting that. And she's going, the first person she goes to see is someone that is kind of like her peer, someone with whom she has a connection, right?
Right.
But dude, like you said, dude went through all this stuff, and the last thing that happened could have killed his family. And he's like, yo, okay, that's where the big picture ends. And for me, it's now the small picture. Right? It's like, I'm protecting my family, I'm protecting my hood, and that's it. The other stuff, I'm not concerned about that anymore. And the conversation with his mother, that was him being given permission, because there was a part of him that wanted to go out there, but he would have felt guilt. But she said, I give you permission to go. And sometimes young people need to hear that, right? They need the permission. So that's what that was. And it was also the idea that when you see him again, he is fully himself. It's kind of like you know, when you look at the Christopher Nolan films, Batman Begins was Batman Begins, but he wasn't really like Batman yet. So I feel like Static Season 1 and Static Shadows of Dakota were like the stages.
The sign fell down.
And
yeah,
when he comes back in Shadow Cabinet 4,
he is
fully static, right? To the point where he's riding lightning. Right? Like he's not on not on a disc anymore. Like this dude is now full potential static, right? So it was very important to show Virgil go through something deeply personal and affecting to come out the other side and fully be static, right? Raquel and Curtis is a different kind of a thing because Curtis, like, Hardware's a pretty arrogant dude. He's arrogant because he's smart. He's pretty arrogant. He doesn't respect a lot of people, but this 17-year-old girl is out there fighting the fight every day and every night. And he looked out there and he was like, she's going to get herself killed in a month. Like, I won't allow that. I respect her too much. So at some point in the 6 months that we don't see, like she was in a fight or something, and he came in, right? And that's when he was like, okay, listen, you're gonna get yourself killed in a week if you don't get some help. So I'm gonna give you my whole apparatus. That's gonna be your support. You do you fight the fight. I'll be your backup. Batman and Alfred, you know what I mean? But
her guy in the chair.
Yeah. But they have two different personalities. They're two different ages. So, of course, they're class. But what I really wanted to make clear is that they now have a really genuine friendship. Right?
Yeah.
So that's why at the end, she's like, don't kill this dude. You kill this dude, they will give you the death penalty. There's just a fact. Right. And she says they will give your black ass the death penalty, right? Because she's making a statement like, dude, you're already losing. You kill him, you've lost. If you let him live,
you're already on trial, or they looking for you like that.
Already. Yeah. So if you let him live, I can possibly save you. If you kill him, it can't.
I'm real interested. I was telling Daryl this. The relationship between Curtis and Alva's sister.
Yeah.
I want to see how because now this is what I said, and I don't, you know, I'm not telling anybody how to write. No, I'm like, let me sit back and watch it unfold.
Yeah.
I would be very interested, considering how Alva and his sister's relationship is. Even though it doesn't at least give us the inkling that it could go that direction. Yeah. If there was a mutual interest between the two, I'll say that because I don't want to throw no characters up there for no comparisons or anything like that. But if there was a romantic interest between the two, I can't imagine what that would look like with them still having this with one another.
Well, this is what I will tell you. Like, it's interesting. Angela Alva respected Curtis enough that she knew that he was formidable, right? Like, this guy, whatever he is so important to my brother that I can't get what I want unless I deal with him. So no matter what I think, I gotta respect this guy. There's something formidable about him, okay? So I'm gonna deal with him on that level. That's why she even tells him everything. She's like, dude, I'm gonna make it clear to you what the fuck is going on. Right? You think you know what's going on. I want you to understand why you're going to die tonight. I'm gonna respect you enough to understand that. Now it doesn't happen, whatever, right? But in her mind, she delivered him to Alva. Alva was gonna kill him, and it's like, okay, let's get down to business of ruling the fucking world. Right? She doesn't know Alva's gonna come out of the fucking nanotechnology bath and be like, fuck you, right? And that's why she said to him, like, fuck you. I told you I was coming. Like, don't talk to me and ask me who the hell I am. Right? Like, I told you I was coming, right? So she respected him. Now, Curtis is very interesting in terms of his attraction to women. Curtis is attracted to formidable women.
Yes,
Barracky Young, formidable woman as a professor, will tell him what's what. Tiffany Evans, even though he was of senior authority to her, he recognized Tiffany's like character, her dignity.
Look where Tiffany is now.
Huh?
And look where Tiffany is now.
Well, you see, we're gonna talk about her in a minute. But so in another set of circumstances, Curtis would be attracted to Angela, and Angela would probably be attracted to him. In this particular context, they were deadly enemies. Like, I think what I wanted to say to the reader is, you think Edwin Alva is his nemesis. It's not. It's her. It's more personal for her. You see what I'm saying? Like, Curtis, from his point of view, that's the enemy. And it's like, no, it's her. Because this is the person that undoes you. You've been on the run and you've been getting away. This is the person that puts you with the police, right? So that's his real nemesis. Tiffany. The thing about Tiffany is Angela gave Tiffany the offer that Curtis wanted from Edwin Alva, right? He wanted respect and profit sharing. And he didn't get it. But Angela Alva is like, okay, if I'm going to come to this town and I'm going to take this town over and I'm going to see this black woman here who my brother tried to kill and failed, I can't go to her with some okie doke. Like, I got to go to her with the real offer. And she recognized that. And by recognizing that, now you have a human being who's like, oh, I'm respected and valued. Let's go. Because that's it, right? Like, at the core of us, right? Like, it isn't even about the money. It's about show me due respect and recognize my value. This woman came to her and did that. And she's like, okay, we can talk. You see? So that's the thing. Tiffany's path ended up being what Curtis wanted and didn't get. And so we were able to show you the alternate way, and also show you that in some ways, you know, men can be really combative in business where women are, you know, women could just be a bit more psychological about it, right? Because if Alva had really thought about it, if he had given Curtis the damn offer he wanted, the sky would have been the limit.
We wouldn't even have a hardware.
Bingo, there would have been no. But Alva's a narcissist, and narcissists don't want to share power with anybody. If there's a 1% chance that person can take any shine from them, no.
Yep, that's the fact. That's them
only,
facts.
It's only the narcissist.
You gave us a lot of character development in those 4 issues. Like I said, I thought I wanted me an icon action figure before I started reading. I was like, oh, I got to get this now. I got to.
Yeah. Listen, I wanted to make his appearance matter, right? Like, he's away for a while, but when he comes back, it's like he's mixing it up, and he does not. You knock him down, he gets back up. You knock him down, he gets back up. And then at the very end of it, you know, Hardware and Icon been beefing for years in this new iteration. But then they just team up, right? He's like, yo, retire him. Retire this dude, right? He's like, all right.
And now, Hardware Buster?
Oh, yeah. Hardware Omega, you like that? Yeah. The big armor.
To me, that was like a in the face of the prestigious competition.
Listen, I ain't in it. I'm at the house. I ain't even in
You know, it's so funny. Like, I don't intentionally throw shade, but here's my thing. It's like, why wouldn't this dude have that? Like, he is one of the smartest inventors on the planet. Why wouldn't he have that? And remember what Reginald Hudlin set up in Icon versus Hardware, where Hardware basically tells him, like, I could kill you. And Icon, like, thinks about it. He's like, yeah, he could, right? So you gotta know Curtis is an inventor and he thinks 3 to 5 steps ahead. So you gotta know he's gonna be like, if that dude ever goes sideways, like, I gotta take him out. And what it's gonna take to take him out is this, right? Which is why in the beginning of issue 4, when he's like, oh, we gotta fight something else, we gotta modify the protocols. This was the Icon killer.
It was for, it should have been an Icon buster.
Icon killer protocol device.
Yeah.
We gotta change the protocols because now the purpose has changed. But that thing was made to kill an alien. Yeah.
Hey now another part of the story. There's so many working pieces to it. Dharma.
Yeah.
Okay. You gonna aid the cause directly, or you're gonna aid the cause indirectly. If I'll recruit you or I'll use you. So and that's just his kind of energy.
Let me say this. Let me pick it back on that real quick, Daryl. Having read your Shadow Cabinet, the comic that you wrote years ago, that was Dharma's attitude in that comic. Oh, you gonna do what I want you to do, whether you know you're gonna do it or not. You're gonna do it.
Yeah.
So I picked that up. I said, oh yeah, he did the same Dharma from back in the day. Yeah, that's him.
What,
and
you know what?
Like, go ahead.
No, you go, Daryl. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like the reason for that dynamic is just necessity.
Yeah. Well, check it. So what we establish, right, is that there have been different iterations of the Shadow Cabinet, right?
Right.
And there's been casualties. You make a big team, there's some casualties. You make a new team, and there's some casualties, right? And it's like, you know the saying, right? Like, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? So he was like, okay, I gotta change my the way I do this, right? It's like, I'm gonna make like a Shadow Cabinet that doesn't even know what it is. I'm the one that can see from the 10,000-foot view. So if I can manipulate the pieces and bring them together, it's like, well, I could have made a team and just had them go after Alva, but if I push and pull people to bring them together at the right time, the whole thing happens anyway, and the chances of like death is decreased, right? His old approach, it just kept failing. He had to try it differently, right? And another thing is, you know, when you're talking about big fights, if you're talking about revolution, resistance, things like that, there are people that idea scares them. They don't want to be a part of a thing. But if they're a part of a thing and they don't understand that they're a part of a thing, if someone inspires them or pushes them in the direction, then they're part of the resistance anyway. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. It's like sometimes the resistance is made up of people who don't even know they've been recruited.
Yeah, because the only way you're able to use the blood syndicate is if it affects Paris Island.
Yeah.
So
Dharma could never. He could never have gone to the Blood Syndicate and said, join the Shadow Cabinet. They would have declined.
Yeah. So it had to affect something they care about for them to get involved.
Look, can I just go ahead and say I'm a fan of the way you think? Like, forget all that other stuff. Like, the way you...
Sorry, I'm having a problem understanding what you're saying.
When I say I'm a fan of the way you think, the cerebral approach that you take to writing the story. The characters play a part, but you're looking at the story.
I think it's a sound thing. I think it's a sound thing. He's not hearing you.
Yeah. There's still something going on with the audio. Sorry about that.
Let me leave and come back. Let me leave and come back.
Maybe it's my. Hold on one sec. Network connection lost. Please reconnect and track it. Just hold on one sec.
All right. Well, you sound fine right now because it's just me and you.
Okay. I think I can hear you okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's my channel. I hope so.
Yeah. I'm hearing you okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Well, what he said, he's going to dip out and he's going to try to dip back in, and maybe that will somehow ameliorate the problem. We can only hope. Anyways, though, where was that? Shadow Cabin, Dharma. All right. Are we going to see more of Anansi?
Oh, Anansi.
Yeah.
I would like to do him more. I would like to
Because I remember he appeared on the Static series too.
Serious. Yeah. I had a lot of fun with him. I would like to work on him again. What was really fun about him was, when you're putting people together, characters, you're putting together different personalities. And when you're talking about the Shadow Cabinet, Dharma's very stoic. Iron Butterfly never smiles because she's been traumatized.
Yep.
But Anansi can joke. He hasn't been traumatized. Like, he doesn't have the someone murdered my Uncle Ben origin to my knowledge, right? Like, he knows what his responsibilities are, but he has the capacity for humor. And so having him there,
seems like a swashbuckler.
Exactly. So having him there,
tongue in cheek, yeah.
It was good to just like add a little flavor to it. And I love how in introducing him, he used deception, because that was part of, his whole thing with disguises and all that stuff in his introduction in the cartoon. So I got to have fun with that, So no, I really dug him. There are people that say, oh, we wish we could have gotten to see more of him and stuff like that. But there were so many characters to juggle, man. And like you point out, Theo, I had 4 issues. Now, each issue was 30 pages. So I had like 120 pages, which is kind of like the equivalent of 6 normal comics. But it had to be paced out differently.
Or a film script.
What I would say is this, and if I had to compare it to something, it would be and I'm not comparing it, but I'm just looking at it like I got so much in the 3-issue run the Cheryl Lynn Eaton wrote, just 3 issues of Black Panther. You gave us so much. Yeah, you gave us so much here. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, I'm just a fan of the way that you think, the way that you approach writing, because there's a lot here. And somebody could sit back and reread it multiple times and gain something new from it each and every time that they read it. I like that type of writing. Like, I'm a fan of somebody when they think like this, like, okay, I'm not just going to think about the main character. I'm going to think about how the main character affects the secondary characters, how the secondary character affects the main characters, and how their interaction with one another affects their surroundings. Like, I tell people all the time, I'm a Shakespearean trained reader. Like, I like for the story to be the story. Don't patronize me. Don't give me a great story. And you got me wanting more. And I think that's the biggest compliment that we could ever offer to a writer is you gave me something and I want more of what you gave me. Now I just got to sit back and be patient.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I really appreciate it because, listen, this story was a culmination of 4 years of Milestone. Y'all were waiting for it. So this had to be something of importance and magnitude. So I'm really glad you got that from it. When I thought about this, I thought about big stories like Kingdom Come by Mark Waid and Alex Ross. I thought about The Golden Age by James Robinson and Paul Smith. I thought about like the big stories, right? Wow. And if you think about it, those were 4 issues and this was 4 issues. So that's what I wanted this to be. I wanted this to be like, to some degree, our Kingdom Come, right? And I'm hoping that when it gets collected, people can read it and have a different experience. And I'm hoping 5 years, 10 years from now, people can read and be like, you know what? Okay, this was a story about a world of superheroes that got impacted by an alien invasion and how they rose out of the darkness and came back together to fight like the enemy of everything, right? You know, and then of course there's metaphors about special human beings and billionaire narcissists, right? There's a number of
folks
things
that's gonna definitely buy the trade paperback, like they waiting for it. Do you know when the trade paperback is coming out for?
I've been told it's going to be this summer.
This summer?
So,
okay,
yeah.
well, you got
Will it
members
be
of the
available
Along With
on
Me Nation
hardcover?
waiting for the trade paperback to come out.
I think it's going to be a hardcover. I think they're going to maintain the way they've done the milestone books. It'll be a hardcover. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
So
somebody asked, okay, I know you know about you're DC, you know about the Absolute series, right?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Okay, somebody asked any chance of an Absolute Static?
Oh, okay. I see that question.
Okay, I like that.
You know what?
I like that.
Not the first, this has come up. So I don't know of a plan for it, but honestly, it would make perfect sense.
Man.
It would make perfect sense because the Absolute line is taking the most iconic characters and really doing a remix. And let's keep it real. Static is one of the most iconic superheroes, period. Period. Not in Milestone, not in DC, period.
Across media.
And if you have any doubt of that, all you have to do is go to one of these big cons. And there'll be like 10 Statics.
Cosplayers, yeah, they go crazy.
Statics and Spider-Man, more Statics than Captain America. Captain America's been around since 1940, Static since 1993. The influence of Static because of the cartoon cannot be overstated. And so absolutely would make sense.
And I feel like just like
now keep it real for you. Yeah. Now if they do Absolute Static and I'm not writing it, I'm gonna be insulted. Just so we're clear. I'm going to be insulted.
I get that. I feel that.
I'm gonna be insulted. But if they choose a good writer who's black, I will accept it.
Hey now.
Okay.
Hey now.
Okay. That's fair.
Oh wow. So they are someone the Kamoyo King.
Yeah, he already pre-ordered.
Listen, we're not playing. Listen, you need to know when before the first issue dropped, we was already talking about, hey, Shadow Captain coming out. We gotta go check that out.
You had me at issue 1.
Yeah.
You had me at issue 1. When I saw the bigger role that Raquel was playing, I'm like, it's about damn time. You know what I mean? I've been waiting for her to step up. Y'all, they was even on Young Justice, they were pushing her back the sidekick role. I'm like, Raquel is not a sidekick. She is not a sidekick. She's a partner. So, she should be in the Justice League. She shouldn't be with Young Justice.
I ain't gonna lie. You had me sitting up here talking about where's my Blood Syndicate action figures and where's my Sanction action figures so I can replay this whole damn scene right here. Like, I need that in my life. What y'all got going on?
I have always wanted a Tech 9 and a Wise Son action figure.
Come on, you had Wise Son come out at the end like, oh man, you don't want these problems. He looking at Albert like, I don't see you and you don't see me either. I said, oh. Because Darren had told me who Wise Son was, and I said, okay, I got to see this. Wise Son come out there talking that talk. I said, okay, yeah.
Wise Son done squared up with Icon back in the day. He a whole problem.
We need our whole Blood Syndicate, Mateo. We need a Blood Syndicate wave, not to be confused, or a Milestone wave and just go ham. A Milestone wave and just go ham. Go ham.
Hey, Illuminous Productions.
I know.
Get on that, man. Get on that. I need a Wise Son, bro.
I've got a few other projects in the pipeline, but I will say that say, you know, like I said, we're gonna see more Milestone in the future, and I don't know exactly what it's gonna look like yet, but I feel confident about it. So, you know, so you hold out hope, because the same way how, you know, all of y'all were waiting for like a year after Icon versus Hardware, and it was like, okay, you know, we were working on it. It's like, hold out the hope.
I need the
How did
milestone.
you tell
I need
me
the milestone cartoon. I need the milestone cartoon
another
movie, animated movie. I need that. I need some milestone action figures.
There
I
is so
need
much
that.
meat. There is so much meat on that bone, and it ain't just because of that it hasn't been done, but because it will be so well received,
100%.
especially right now, where people are screaming and crying and clamoring for, we need some black representation, and what Theo and I be talking about. I don't want no black character. I want a black ensemble. You know what I'm saying? So I can see a bunch of me, not just the one y'all allow at a time. You can only one per capita. No, give me a whole mess of them.
Yeah. I feel you. That's why for me it was really fun to bring everyone together at the end, and like it's like, oh yeah, all of them in one book.
All of you even got the. I don't want to call them the black Amazons and everything like that, but you even got them in the store. Like you even found a way to get them in the store. I'm sitting there like,
Yeah.
I really,
That one Icon messing with.
yeah, Shomara, yeah, had that cameo with her telling Angela Alba, nah, sis, we're not back in your mission. You gotta
yeah,
go.
like,
Yeah.
They
booted her. They probably like, you gotta go, girl. We don't get down like that.
Yep.
I'm,
That was fun.
I guess the big thing I can say is that, you know, we, like Daryl said, you know, we be talking about, chirping about representation and imagery and everything like that. And I got what I was looking for. 4 issues. Yeah, I could take some more though. I'm just being, I could take some more. We all could. We could take some more. But this was not disappointing at all. This was not at all. The story, it hit where it was supposed to hit. It clicked where it was supposed to click. So I can't wait. You got some stuff coming out in June. We're gonna check that out. My daughter, she turned 24 April 15th. She's actually at law school. So I think children's book, even though she might be a little too old for it right now, she got a birthday April 15th. So I'm thinking I can go ahead and wrap that on up and send that to her.
I think she'll appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that. Like I'm a fan. Like that's all I can tell you. I'm a fan. I like good read. I like good writing. I like good.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad, because I love readers.
Hey, I've been milestone since day one. You know what I'm saying? There's an Icon issue that really stands out for me. Again, and the homage, I saw the symmetry to it too. It was Icon was fighting a character named Buckwild.
Yes.
And Buckwild was straight Luke Cage. You know what I'm saying? He was straight Luke with the corny expressions and I'm mad now. I'm about to start messing people up.
Yep.
And Mark Bright drew it.
Yep. Perfect. And he looked perfect, right? That was like when Dwayne and Mark got together, man, they were just like a perfect team, but Bright really nailed them. So, you know, God rest his soul. You know, Doc Bright was one of a kind.
Rest in power. And I just want to say, because we have 2.5 hour mark. But when you vibing, that happens.
It's true.
I just want to say, first of all, this for me, this is like, it's like Christmas. This is like my birthday. You know what I'm saying? Just sitting here, just being able to chop it up with you and give you my thoughts and hear yours. Just the exchange has been, for me, extremely fulfilling. And I just, from me, from Friday Vibe and for Theo, I just want to say thank you for pulling up tonight. This has been a hoot.
You're welcome, and thank you for the support you gave the book, because that's how I found y'all. I was like, okay, this is cool. It's good to know that there are people out there reading it and talking about it, and this makes a difference, and I appreciate it. So you have my thanks, and it was a pleasure for us to just go all over the comics world and just talk about
respect, man, because you that generation, man. We the same generation.
Yeah,
we're all pretty much the same generation. So
right.
a lot of the stuff you feel, we feeling. A lot of your thought process. It's like it's about time somebody did that. So again, man, many
we glad you out there. We glad you out there. We glad you out there. We need you out there. Please don't go nowhere unless it's just on the bigger and better things.
Hey, this might be something you want to hear. Tebow Mari said all shops in my area are out of issue 4. I want an extra copy. No, so what he's saying is he just want to get another 4. He already got 4. He wants another 4. Cause like what and Khatib, I tell you like this, bro. If it's a book you really like, when you there at the LCS, get to. Just go ahead and get to, and be done with it. Cause if it's like I got mine. I got
you ready? You ready? When they know you like Fallout Comics know me, I feel like I got to keep saying their name. If there's a comic that comes out and it ain't Black Panther, but for whatever reason, they just happen to throw him on the cover. When I go to the comic book shop, guess which version I got?
There you go. Those people know you. They're looking out for you. So, first off, it's just good to hear that people out there buying it, reading it, and, Bloodletter coming out in June. Pre-order at your comic shop. I guarantee you it's going to be a mean ride.
Hang on. We're going to get that. We gonna get there. Like I said, I got my 4. They in plastic bags. We don't want them getting old, too old.
There he is.
I'm a Spawn dude too.
There he is.
So,
now you ready?
And this is just one. I got a lot of Spawn over there.
So now I guess. Now I seen Michael Jai White when he played Spawn in the movie. I saw the movie when it first came out. Yeah. So now I'm guessing Friday Night Vibin, we done had Mr. Joseph IIlidge here on the show. I guess I got to go talk to the missus, see about acquiring a Spawn action figure. Did not know I was gonna want a Spawn action figure.
That's happening. Come on,
man, you both. Hey, Joe. I still got Spawn action figures from 94, 95.
Dude, listen. Somewhere in my basement, there's a medieval Spawn Series 1, and there's an Al Simmons in his CIA armor Series 1. Somewhere in the basement. I bought those when those came out.
You got to go take the picture now. You got to go find them, take the picture, and you got to upload it. You got to do that.
Put it up on X. Because I've got a Spawn action figure, the one that is the cape flips all the way out. And when you raise the arm up, the eyes glow green. That effect still works.
Come on, Mr. Illidge, drop the action figure. Black History Month is 365 days this year. We got Toy Tuesday. We drop black action figures all the time. So we need you to find them when you get the chance. Okay. We understand you're busy. You're a busy man. You're a busy man.
So now we know, and this is the last thing I'm gonna say, and we're gonna bounce. I know that you said earlier in the show you was working on a Zero project, or a Zero project is in the works. Go ahead and slide a Milestone project in there too.
I would definitely like to do that.
Bruh, when we gonna get an Icon movie? I want an Icon movie.
But here's the thing. But we got to get Static first.
Right? I don't care what order he come in. I just need Static's cool. But I need an Icon movie.
I agree with you 100%. So this is how I think it would go down. Honestly, I think before they would do a movie, I think Icon would be a streaming series. I think Static will be a movie. And I think
I can rock with that.
But I think Icon and Rocket is such kind of like this long story that I think they would do it that way.
Yeah, because you'd have to start and tell the slavery thing and all
Dude,
of that.
the possibilities for all the different flashbacks through this guy's life, right? It's like, come on, like that's just money waiting to be made. So
Yeah,
I think that's how they would have to do that one.
Well,
What's up?
you let us know. Like I
I'll
said,
do
we got this thing over here. We rock with those that rock with us. Well, we rocking with you. So let us know when stuff dropping, because we rocking with you. We can go ahead and get that. We can let the Rock With Me Nation know when it's dropping, so they can go ahead and get it. And then we can go ahead and, you know, maybe do this again. We'll definitely do this again, but have the comic books, the books in house to review.
I appreciate that. Let's
And
plan and do this
crazy-
again for Bloodletter.
Oh,
That's
said
a
it.
wrap. That's
You
done.
said it. You said it.
I
So
did say it.
now when Bloodletter come out, and
We're
I
gonna have
mean
to do
soon as it come out, soon,
Yeah,
hey,
we're jumping on that.
Joe, soon as it come out,
We're gonna do it.
I'm gonna be hitting you.
You know where to find me. We're gonna do it.
That Wednesday. Okay, just so you know. The
All right.
question I was last, do you use Final Draft?
Oh, when I'm writing my scripts, no, I use Microsoft Word.
Okay.
Yeah, I use
Word? Okay.
Yeah. So I don't. If you check any of my recent feeds, I actually did a comparison where I did the script for page 10 of Shadow Cabinet 4, where static comes back, and then I have the page. So go through my feeds and like take a look, and you'll see that. But yeah, that's Microsoft Word. Because Final Draft, the formatting of it, I feel like it has like formatting problems.
It's
So,
difficult. It's difficult because
I-
when you do the part where I know this is random, but the part where you're like doing a scene, it's like they got this little like box thing, and rather than like put it in a format, you got to just go to another box. And
Exactly.
I've been fooling with it, but I'm like,
Microsoft Word
it
is
hurts.
just
It
fine.
hurts.
And the thing about Microsoft Word is it's better for letterers, right? To pull from your script. Pulling from Final Draft is a bitch, man. So
You know
for
what?
consideration of letterers,
you know what? Thank you for
I'm
telling me that. Thank you for telling me that, because I was working on a script and I got it in Word format also.
okay, I just gave you a tip, a useful tip.
Hey, appreciate it. Look here, Rock With Me Nation. We appreciate y'all coming out tonight, because y'all pulled up. It was a few people in here tonight. I wasn't even where y'all was gonna be in here, but y'all keep rocking with us. We got more fun stuff going on. Once again, a huge thank you to our very special guest, the iconic Mr. Joe IIlidge. As normal, Theo and I will be hitting you with comic book reviews and little interesting takes on not so popular topics, but we the kind of people that approach them not so popular topics. But this has been Friday Vibin. I'm D Real. That has been Theo B, and Joe IIlidge next to me. We about to get up out of here for the one time. Sit for now. Fret not. We'll be coming at you with another one of them other ones. And until we do, y'all be good. Be good to each other.